I was looking at the last, say, 4 years of what's been going on around the world, and I was thinking it was almost a perfect storm for success for Irish whiskey. You mentioned your Scottish brethren there. Apparently, right now, due to the B word, Brexit, the term I'm not allowed to mention to anyone who lives in the UK, my friends, like, um, because of that, apparently there have been quotes that the Scottish whisky industry, because of the trade complications, shall we say, that the Scottish whisky industry is losing something akin to £5 million a week. And of course, in the Republic of Ireland, you're not impacted by any of that at all.
Yeah, and I would go as far as to say, this is really an unusual situation we find ourselves in because it's an all island, so not just a republic.
Yes.
Irish whiskey is an all island industry. So while we have our differences, we are united in whiskey.
Yes.
And that's it's really strong here. We've got fantastic association, the Irish Whiskey Association, with our brethren from north, south, east, and west on the island are all together representing, I think, 98% of the producers stroke brand owners are in the association, and it's a broad church. Everybody's welcome, and that's really heartening. And we have benefited from Brexit because, unfortunately, for a period, our cousins across the water in Scotland have had tariffs to pay, which are punitive. They disrupted the supply chain into North America.
2019. That was the Trump administration. It was about 25% or something like that.
That's right. And while it's not a game changer, but what it did, it interrupted the Scotch is for it's a big category. They're 10 times bigger than the Irish in terms of the category, but it had Scotch, I suppose, was slowing down in its compound annual growth rate. The Irish were steaming ahead, right. But now you had this Brexit, which basically got them. They had to put the brakes on. Yep. Yes, they loaded up maybe with the tariffs coming in. There was there was lots of shipments of Scotch across the water, but that stopped pretty quickly, and then there was a disruption, Scotch became quite expensive on the shelf. We saw it here in Europe, with bourbon becoming quite expensive, and bourbon, I think through that period of the tariffs, said they were down approximately 30% in their exports to Europe. It's huge. So that little, I suppose, pulling up the reins on the Scottish category, has helped the other whiskey categories, and the Irish for sure, and world whiskies, which are now steaming ahead as well. It's allowed us more time on shelf, given us more shelf space, because that's what we want. We don't just want one bottle. I want two of my Writer's Tears. I want two Irishmen there, and all of a sudden I'm a little bit more visible. And we just got that little break, and I think it really has helped us a lot. I know tariffs have now been suspended, and let's say it's business as usual, but the Irish have got this momentum, which hasn't been, which has not, even COVID did not break it. Last year, 2021, it was a record year for Irish whiskey. Yeah.
And what do you put that down to with regards to the pandemic and people drinking more Irish whiskey?
Well, I suppose I had, the pandemic has been tough on everybody, and there are a few little pleasures that are available to us all, whether it's a box of chocolates or a nice bottle of whiskey or a nice cigar. There's a few little things, and we started to spend on, well, rather, I'm not going to the pub at the moment, so why not buy a nice bottle of whiskey? And that we've seen the uplift in retail.
So looking to the future, it looks like the future is pretty bright for the Irish whiskey industry. Tell me what your hopes and aspirations are for the coming decade.
Yeah, I would agree with you. The next decade is really going to be fantastic for Irish whiskey. We've had 20 years of solid growth. The platform's there now. What we were missing before would have been the depth and the whole depth in the category. Now that's been addressed by, I think we have approximately, I'm going to say approximately 40 distilleries now on the island. When I started, there were only 3. So 40 distilleries. We now have hundreds of brands. We have just huge differences in depth and flavor on the whiskies. So the stage is set. And, if I listen to those that predict the future, they talk about Irish whiskey in North America will surpass Scotch whiskey sales by about 2028. That's the forecast. And I remember it was given back in 2016, a report that I was involved with in the Irish Whiskey Association, looking at where Irish whiskey could go, and we predicted by before 2030. Now they've revised that 2028 Irish whiskey will match up to Scotch whiskey in North America. That's big news. We've already surpassed Scotch single malt sales in the US.
So in a way, it's cyclical because it's returning back to the 19th century when Irish whiskey was the dominant whiskey in North America, right?
Absolutely. Things do go in cycles, and there's a whole generation now, and it's the younger generation. It's the 25 to 40-year-olds who have a taste for Canadian whiskies, bourbons, Irish, and not just Scotch. Maybe the Scottish drinker is that older generation, and that needs to be replenished. So things do go in cycles, and so the Irish are doubling down. There's a lot of new distilleries being planned. There's a lot of experimentation. Every year we are experimenting with new woods, new casks. I'll always bring something to Canada, be it like Riders Tears, the ice wine cask finished last year. We're always experimenting. We did the Mizunara cask, which we brought out also in Canada. So we're always working and experimenting, and our cellars are just full of really, really interesting barrels, be it a peated red ale or a seaweed IPA cask. We've all sorts, and it's a real candy store down there. So yeah, that's and we're just one wee company within the Irish whiskey industry. So there's a lot happening, and our friends in Canada will be the beneficiaries.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what you have in store for us in Canada the next time you come to visit. Bernard, thank you very much for joining us at Good Food Revolution today. Really appreciate your time, and look forward to catching up in person at some point in the near future.
Cheers, Jamie. Listen, always great to see you and speak with you, and I can't wait for my next trip. It'll be in the autumn. I'll let you know, and all our fans out there in Canada. We would love to get them in for a tasting, COVID and everything else allowing.
Sounds absolutely terrific. Thank you very much, sir. Take care.
Bye, Jamie. Bye-bye.